It's Book Talks again, and today we have ex-SAS 8th grade teacher and now University English professor, Mrs. Johnson, to book talk for us.
Do some book talks of some books that I think you might want to read. Some might be books you know, some might not. So your job is this. Everybody turn to, if you don't have one, create it, the page in your reader's notebook that says something like books I might want to read or thinking about reading. I don't know what you... I chose some books that are related to some of the work that you're doing or going to be doing, that are related to either memoir or identity. I think the question's like this. Who am I when I think of books about identity? Where do I fit in? And those are probably questions that you ask sometimes. Is there hope for me in this world? But maybe you don't. Yeah, right? How do you not say yes to this? This is the first graphic novel ever to... It doesn't have one here yet because your school was so smart and got some copies before it won a Newbery honor. Newbery is for one of the most distinguished writing in the field of children's or literature up to about age 14. C.C. Bell wrote and illustrated this amazing story that is her life story. It's autobiographical. It is memoir. It's El Deafo. C.C. Bell herself is deaf, legally deaf. She signs. She has found as a kid, what you learn in this book, that things I hadn't thought about is what the challenges are. The scene I remember most in this book, and I want you to think about this, whether you read it or not. When you're deaf, how do you participate in the world? So the place in this book that most struck me, I never thought about the challenge, is when she was invited to her first slumber party. Anybody ever gone to a slumber party? No. So you sleepover. Yeah, right, sleepover. So you do a lot of chatting, and then the lights go out, and you tell stories, and you chat. I want you to think about that. If you're deaf and you rely on reading lips, you've gone to bed, you've taken your hearing aids out, or you don't have them. You've relied on writing. How do you participate in a slumber party? A story of Katrina. Anybody? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Because I've heard about it, because Katrina really just still amazes me what happened, and because I've read other books by Rodman Philbrick, and I know him I trust him as a writer, I'm just going to write this one down because I choose books not just because people do book talks, but because I read about them or because I'm interested in the topic. And it's called Zane and the Hurricane, and I'm really still fascinated by Katrina.
Has anyone read Freak the Mighty?
Yep. Same author.
Same author.
This is not a memoir, but it grew out of a nonfiction book. A few years ago, author Susan Campbell Bartoletti came to SAS. Did anybody meet her when she was here? Nope.
Don't remember.
She mostly is known as a writer of nonfiction. And one of the best books that she wrote that to me that lasts the longest, that I recommend to everybody, and I think 8th graders read it, is called Hitler Youth. It's the story of teenagers who became Hitler Youth members. It's kind of, they followed Hitler, they did some things that a number of them over time realized later, that was really awful. I no longer want to be a Hitler Youth member. So this book is called The House of the Scorpion, and it's futuristic. So here's the deal. The main character is a clone. He's a clone of a really bad guy, a drug lord. Eesh, right? He doesn't know this. He doesn't know this at the beginning. He does know he's different. So when you think about identity, he knows he's different. He knows that he's kind of set aside from other people. And he comes to find out who he really is. But is that who you are? I wanted to be who I was. He wants to be who he is. But is he even a human being?
No. He is.
That
not a
becomes the kinds of question that throughout the whole book he's wrestling with, and sometimes the reader is wrestling with. If you're the kind of reader who is interested in big questions about ethics, should we clone people? It's called Home of the Brave, and it's a book about Kek. That's his name. He's from Sudan, and you meet him as he's literally on the airplane just landing in Minnesota in the winter from Sudan, where he's lost his family in the war that's going on there. In the 60s, there was a small zoo, it was called a mall zoo, a small zoo in Tacoma, Washington, where there was this gorilla in this confined, I don't know about you, but zoos can make me so sad for animals. And this is, the one and only Ivan is a story of, Ivan, a gorilla, who's confined to this very small mall zoo, not treated well, and a really wonderful relationship that he establishes with other animals in the zoo and with a young girl who visits there. Now here's what I find so interesting about that story. When I was in second grade, my class went on a field trip to a zoo in a mall in Tacoma, Washington. And that's when I first saw it.
Is he real? Is he
I
real?
think they
Yeah.
said it was fiction. Isn't that interesting? I said it's fiction, and you know the cool thing about fiction? Almost all fiction is very grounded in truth.
Yeah, even in the book.
And that's where, and that's where a lot of writers get their ideas. They read something in the newspaper, and they go, I wonder what if.
Did you meet the gorilla?
I met the gorilla, but years before that book was written. Okay, so we're out of time. Years before the one and only Ivan
Was it actually named
was
Ivan?
written. And now there's a lovely nonfiction picture book that goes along with it, and you can go online. And Ivan was an artist, and that's how they
Yeah.
sold some of Ivan's drawings. You can go online and read some really awesome information. Ivan has recently died.
Oh.
Wow. Now, before I leave, I have one question. What is a book that you would love for me to maybe think about reading? Think about that. Maybe think about that. Which one you? Unbelievable. I just book talked that book in 8th grade. Thank you, and I believe in it. If you don't know Salt of the Sea, talk to this young lady. She'll give you a great book talk. What else?
Kira.
What?
Kira.
Oh, Kira is one that I've read. Yeah, unbelievable book. Talk to this dude. He'll give you a great recommendation. What should I read?
Salt in Our Stars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
there we
yes.
go. Okay, we're out of time. I'm so sorry. Thank you so
Let's give Mrs. Johnson a 7th grade round of applause. Bravo. Thank you.